minute. But there's the thumbnail. Here's the show. The Dark Ages, is it coming? We're going to talk about Neuralink today, okay? We're going to talk about those guys and the appearance that just went down. We're going to talk about Mr. Musk and, of course, Twitter. And in the background, you see there is a white walker. And I on Twitter put out, they're all blue. Shouldn't they be called blue walkers? That's going to freak you out, and it's going to make sense. It's going to make sense by the end of the show. Got so much to get into. The Dark Ages. Why did I put that in the title? Well, the Dark Ages, it was the time between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. Now, of course, you remember I talked about how, we're going to be seeing some Dark Ages because Beyonce put out her album about the Renaissance. This was a while back. I had to blot out her outfit there. The designers attached to that album, also probably very, very sick. You could do the research and find out all the things that have been going on with the Baal and Siaga. We're going to talk about that as well. But the Dark Ages, this period of time in between the fall of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire's falling apart, right? We're in the days of Pilate, where he's walking in with the sink, right? Okay, so this is how I got kind of on the topic of the Dark Ages. Wasn't planning on titling it that, but a buddy of mine put out a little hashtag tweak, hashtag 2023, the Dark Ages. He called it the Great Outbreak, which is funny because this morning I was hit with what I would call a Mandela effect, but not really. Although a lot of you thought it was a Mandela effect. You know that song, Ring Around the Rosies, Pocket Full of Posies? A tissue, we all fall down? I don't remember a tissue. I guess that would be the English version. I remember ashes, we all fall down. You tell me in the live chat. I'm going there right now. Do you remember tissue? Or do you remember pocket full of posies and it goes to the ashes? Right? Well, either way, it has to do with a terrible, terrible plague that comes on the land, right? Spooky. And the posies were for covering up, the bodies because they were stinky. And of course, the tissue would be held for, people that had the terrible rash, ring around a rosy. So really, it had to do with that. Had to do with the this right here. This is interesting, right? So, of course, I thought that the line was ashes, but for whatever reason, I thought it was a Mandela effect, so I put it out to everybody, and everybody thought it was odd. There you got Lord Boca there saying it's odd, Mandela and his effect must be at it again, right? And I wrote, or simply a different version, but plague-related either way. This is interesting. Because all the big wigs and the hot shots and everything else, that they're all saying, another one's coming, another one's coming, another one's coming. Just did my last show, right? Let me show you my last show, okay? You see there, that it had to do with the zombies and the rhymes with Cyrus coming up, Antarctica, right? And it had a lot to do with Elon Musk's table, like it was a mysterious message that he placed there and all the things. Well, guess what? I think that my deduction was right on track, but I learned more and I was wrong about one thing. But not really, because it's all connected. It's very strange. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because all the big wigs, they keep saying, another one's coming, another one's coming. So this is what the show was. If you haven't seen my last show, this one right here, you should check it out. Had a lot to do with, of course, the situation that we hear. I on Twitter shared out some stuff about it as well, but let's just go back for a second. Let's take a look at the table one more time so I can clear this mess up, because this is a mess and it gets even messier and it gets even scarier. If you thought the last show was weird and you thought that it was incredibly interesting that all this stuff started to come together, because if it is what we think it could be, it's a spooky time to be alive right now, and it's going to get even spookier. 2022 is going to be going to end a very very strong way, I feel, and 2023 maybe not so great. A lot of the things that we've talked on this show about for the last couple of years, kind of leading up to stuff, it's all come to a head here too. This is the reason why I'm a little scattered, because I've been working nonstop trying to pull this all together. But on the table, let's pull up this so you can just take a look. You see, remember the water bottle, and I talked about the water bottle? Somebody figured it out, and of course, all thanks to you. This was Millie figured this out. The water bottle on Elon's table was Aqua Sana. That's what it was. That's a water purification system. It purifies water from stuff that's in the water, from scary, terrible stuff that could be put in the water. That's kind of their marketing, I guess. Meet clean, healthy water. So he's just somebody who drinks very clean water, or he's saying, you should maybe make sure that you're not going crazy drinking the water. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's the case. It's probably just he drinks that kind of water. He's probably a smart guy and filters his water. And that's the case. It's just weird because as this show progresses, you're going to find out that we may need to be purifying water. It's just strange. You know what's even weirder? I was just on Our Everyday Lives with Michael, and he kept bringing up, I didn't know why he was bringing it up. He kept going, those PSAs with the water, and then the mayor in the city was talking about the water. And I was thinking, as we're talking, I'm like, why are you bringing this up? It was just weird to me. It was odd to me as we were having this conversation that he just brought that out. But it struck to me, right? It struck to me. So when it struck me, not struck to me, it stuck to me. I put two words together. So when I saw that bottle, I immediately thought of the conversation. Then I immediately remembered them saying, drink the water. The water in New York is so good. There's a whole campaign, drink the water. Drink the water, the tap water. You should. It's the absolute best, the mayor says. Mayor who's into like woo-woo stuff. He says that there's like crystals and stuff. Look into it. Interesting. But yeah, so there's always worries and concerns about what could be in the water. There's bacteria and viruses and parasites, we know. But they have like the scale. The mayor is urging everybody because he says that New York City water is like the best. And maybe that's the case. I don't know. But it was weird. I saw, what do I call it? I call it like just spitballing here. That's what I call it. Just thinking about things, and I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm going to see if anything sticks. Because something's about to stick. And it's going to stick in my craw a little bit. So let's go back to Elon's table again, because this is where the story gets really scary and really eerie before we get into like even the top headlines. You know that, remember I told you that I knew that in the lower right-hand corner there, left-hand corner? Remember how I told you that I knew it had to be from a game? I just didn't know. I spent hours trying to figure this out. Hours trying to figure out, what is this from? What is this from right here? I couldn't, for the life of me, find something that matched it. I couldn't. It was kind of a bummer, because I really wanted to. Because I had this idea about zombies. I don't know why. And since we like to speculate, I decided, hey, let's do a little speculating about the zombies. So I said, well, there must be a connection to zombies in this firearm, right? So that's what I think. In a second, you're going to see why I find it very, very odd. Very odd. So somebody figured it out. They knew exactly what kind of, mock-up this was. And it was a Diamondback 357 revolver from the video game Deus Ex. Now, the plot thickens, gets strange, because of course if you look to the, look right up there, and this is going way, way back. You see, like, it's going back like 2019, early days, right in the beginning of the virus of the crown and all that. I did a show about, right there, that guy, right there, Deus Ex. The game, freaky. It was quite freaky. A lot of it, especially that. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just transfer over and let me show you Let me show you why this is. And it was D'Artagnan, by the way, on Twitter was the one that showed me this. And this opens the door to remember how last time I was like, hey, Danielle, this time it's really, you may be calling for somebody because it's just strange. And most likely just makes for a great book and just something for all of us to wrap our minds around. Because on the show here, of course, we like to do a lot of thinking outside of the box, never declaring anything like we know things to be true if we don't, because that would be lying. All right, so let me bring this up, and this time let me make sure you can hear this. So this was the video, and let me just make sure I'm transferred over. Yep, okay, good. And let's just take a listen to this.
A lot can happen in 24 hours. This is Elon Musk's Twitter page, and as you see, he has a baby as his avatar. That's not the way it always was, and that's what the show is about, but he just announced the birth of his...
And of course, there's always a commercial. There's always a commercial. It always happens. You know, many times, especially with these lives, by the way, just as so you all can understand this, I don't always have control over them. You know, sometimes, you know, it's just the way YouTube does it. The shows that I produce, though, I can insert them. With the lives, I don't know how to do it, so they just throw them in there for me. But anyway, so let's keep watching this, and let me turn on the
Canadian singer Grimes. He, of course, named the child something bizarre because he's Elon Musk. And
X, by the way, I'd like to point that out. And baby X, Occupy Mars, Mars Occupy. Is where, I mean, that's, you know, something that at the time, it's very interesting. And God bless them. You know, it's like God bless these people with their families and everything else. It's great to be a parent. It really is. And the name is an interesting name. But the fact, of course, he has the X app and what we know X to be, a symbol of Christ. And you're going to find out this also has ties to ancient Egypt. All of this is just why these interesting shows are fun. For me to at least do. Hope they're fun for you too.
A lot of people think that it actually means Ash Archangel, but that's not why I'm starting the video off with this. This is his girlfriend. Singer, songwriter.
I'd like to also point out it's ash. Like ashes, we all fall down. I didn't really make that connection until just now. That's weird. Or like maybe rising from the ashes. I'm not exactly sure what the real name is, but back then it was like X Archangel Ash or something like that. Very cool name. Definitely unique and different. All right, keep listening.
Artist and someone very familiar with the occult. There you see the devil horns, the Baphomet, the all-seeing eye, the as above, so below. Articles online about how she wants to become an immortal digital self. Her and Elon Musk are perfectly suited. But what was strange about this was when I was looking her up this morning, I found a video that she did about 9 months ago in September. The video started off with her reading The Art of War. Now, what's strange about this is early on in the video, Grimes and her dancers can be seen dancing, wearing face masks. That's right, protective gear. Something that's quite common to see today, but not back then. This is before the virus of the crown. Is it possible that as they're simulating choking and coughing and gasping and dancing, that Elon Musk, one of the most powerful people in the world, could they have known what was to come? And is this their way of putting it out there, showing us what we were all in for? Or maybe not. Maybe it's just some strange coincidence, just like the avatar he was using for Twitter 24 hours ago. That's why we need to discuss it.
So that's strange to me. That's strange to me. It's strange to me that all of that's strange to me. This morning, you think about it, ashes, ashes. And that now I'm playing something with ash in there, and they're wearing the mask. You know, talking about what's ring around the rosy pocket with the plague. They always say another one's coming, and that the gun, which is right above me, is from that game that is it's pretty disturbing. Okay, it's pretty disturbing. This game. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so here is this is a little bit about it. We're gonna get into some deep water here, y'all. So make sure that you are buckled up and that you have, they have the tray table in the right position, because it's gonna get weird. It's gonna get very weird. So Deus Ex is it's a game, and so he some people were saying that he was calling himself kind of the hero. He had this avatar on Twitter where he was a character from this video game which has to do with nanotechnology and has to do with like mind control and zombies and stuff like that. So it's interesting because going along with that zombie video that I just did yesterday and thinking to myself, well, of course, this has to be connected somehow, that had to be connected to zombies. But it has to do more with like, I'll just read it. Okay. So he compares himself back then to this Deus Ex hero, but fans say maybe he's more like a villain. Bob Page would be like the bad guy, and Adam would be like the good guy. He's a wealthy industrialist, philanthropist, founder and owner of Page Industries, the prominent member of that group, and one of the leaders of the Majestic 12 during the 2030s. At some point, he uses the 12 and overthrows that group, becoming the wealthiest and most powerful man in the world. So it's kind of like he was like with the group, and then he just became super powerful because he just overthrew the group. But maybe he was there to, who knows? It seems to me, my little bit of research in this show, this video game for this show, seems to me like maybe he thought that he had, noble means. Ironically, it was all about augmentation, transhumanism, becoming one with the machine and constantly advancing yourself and becoming one with technology. So it's interesting that all of this kind of comes out at the same time. He put that revolver on that table for some reason. And then on Twitter, of course, I shared out footage of the game. Like, what happens is there is it's a terrible thing that happens. Now, remember how yesterday on the show I had mentioned, let me pull this up one more time. I had mentioned that if something were to come in the future, they could say, oh, well, we just pulled it out of the ice, and that's what it is. And that could happen. It could be from the ice, or maybe it could just be like a cover story. Like maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it has to do with tech. You know what I mean? Maybe it has to do with nanotechnology, much like this game, which is strange because there's an incident that takes place in 2027. Now you got to remember, this is the video game. Has to do with a character who's into like basically the same stuff that Elon's into, which noble means, right? Giving people eyesight. We're going to talk about Neuralink in a little while. They had their show and tell, which was pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Where they showed you could have like a camera, like I guess some kind of a camera. You could be born blind and see, because what they would do is they would use tech to give you your eyes back. That's something, right? That's something. Let people walk. That's something. And we always think the worst. We always think that people are, they have terrible means, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. So I'm always trying to temper my thing, especially you're going to see this more and more lately, because I want to be very careful not to make people look like they're the bad guy, because they could be the good guy and they're trying real hard and they just got to use the means, like Jehu, the guy who rose up and overthrew, The group of people, he brought them all in, the worshippers of Baal, overthrew him, but he wasn't like the best guy. He probably did some he was the guy that had to get the job done. All right. So anyway, Elon has this this revolver, this 30 whatever, I don't know anything about guns, from this game. There's an incident that takes place in this game in 2027. It's a catastrophic event during which augmented people, and I remember there's like these in this video game, there's like these there's this nanotechnology that somehow got into people, right? Whether through noble means or not, it got into people. Not everybody reacted well. And people across the globe are driven to psychotic breaks and acts of terrible violence, like as if a switch was thrown on to mind control, which I think in the game, that's actually what happens. They find that they can control people. That Hugh Darrow's broadcast of a biochip signal from the Pangaea causes augmented people outfitted with the biochip design to lose control of their functions and wildly attack everyone around them. That's scary. That's like dark, right? You had the other thing that was on the table. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. The other thing on the table that was right over here in the lower corner over there. The Viril, which, the Thunderbolt weapon. There's more to that too. Well, that was from Call of Duty Zombies. That was my whole show. It's all about zombies and the coming zombie apocalypse. That the what was it? The CDC? I think it was the CDC. Tell me in the live chat. Tell me in the live chat if it was the CDC. They put out the what to do in a zombie apocalypse, right? That stuff's funny because what if it was actually good advice? Good advice. Someone in the chat says like Kingsman. Eddie, that's right. I didn't see Kingsman, but it sounds to me like all of this stuff that it just sounds to me like it's all coming together. It's all coming together. So here's where it gets even weirder. All right, so let's just take another look at that table. So we had the gun from that. We had that from that. We got the water bottle. You got to make sure that you are purifying your water. And it's kind of a spooky thing. It's kind of a spooky story that it begins to tell us. But no more spooky than when you start to think about the things that are going on right now. With all of the weird, the weird type of, circling of the animals. And, it's funny because I remember I talked about this. On back in 2021, where all the reindeer, this was 2021, where the reindeer were doing it. That's the picture to the right. But now it's like everything. On Twitter, I just shared out video of like ducks going nuts, circling around, right? The circling around that you see in that movie Cell. So you'd need like a massive signal, some kind of like a huge signal or something to, flip the switch. I don't know exactly the ins and the outs of that game, but it sounded to me like maybe it had something to do with a switch where you could just, turn something on. I don't know. I do know what's weird is that I kind of thought there's got to be a little more. Like, did they send something up? I start thinking to myself, did they send something up into space recently? And I'm reminded of Blue Walker 3. Walker. You're gonna see why this is interesting. And once again, this probably is so far-fetched and not true. Just enjoy it as if this is a movie and you're watching a movie with me, because this would be completely absurd to think that somehow everybody somehow, like Deus Ex, has nanotechnology in them, and that the cabal of whoever are going to be able to flip a switch and either make people do terrible things or just, turn everybody into a zombie and give them mind control. Not saying that's the case. Just interesting that I'm doing this show at the same time that we have Neuralink. Give me your brain. Remember the video I did about Neuralink? Give me your brain. Did the little goofy thing where people are concerned about that. Like that would be like, that's what it's all about. I mean, is it all about that? I really don't think it's all about that. I think that it probably is a little bit more than when, especially if they can have like technology in people already and they don't know about it. I'm not saying that's the case. Once again, this is just me being a writer thinking, hey, why not, right? So Blue Walker 3, an enormous and bright communication satellite, is genuinely alarming astronomers. It was launched, by the way, on the 10th, which is interesting, September 10th. It's called Blue Walker, but soon there are going to be other ones, and they're going to be called Blue Birds. And of course, SpaceX is what launched this. Blue Birds, like a little Twitter bird, like Twitters, like Twitter. Blue birdies. Could you imagine? There's blue birds. What's with the blue? It's the blue check mark, the blue this, the blue that, blue. Amun-Ra is blue. You're going to find out. So Blue Walker 3 is huge. Look at it. Look at the design. That's curious that I put the Crusaders cross right next to it. Because when I looked at that design, I thought very much of like Yahtzee's or the Crusaders cross. And that's just strange. So, of course, as a goof, in my mind, I'm playing this little game where, they could do this and that's going to go up there and it was up there on September 10th. And you said there was going to be like something on that day. This is going to get so much weirder and so much freakier, very freaky. This is going to get freaky. This is going to get freaky really quick, okay? So just hang in there. Hang in. You're going to want to share this show, too, because it's a cool show. At the same time, at the bottom right-hand corner, at the same time, I'm talking about all of this stuff from Deus Ex, and I send out this video, right? This video. Ash, baby Ash, Angel, and Elon, whether he's the good guy or the bad guy of this series, which has to do with transhumanism and merging with technology, which you have to do, right? Because AI is going to outpace us. That's the strong argument. Isn't it strange that like right next to it, the video I did the day before is about a signal from space that's going to hit the Earth and do something very similar. An alien signal from within our own galaxy. I did a whole show about this. Just strange. You remember I talked about the number 16? I couldn't get away from the number 16. And I'm like, that's it. Revelation 16 is upon us. I'm going into the chat. Tell me in the chat if you remember this. Because we covered all of this stuff for a while. Hey, do me a favor. Barely a third of you hit the like. Please just X out of chat. It really helps me. I work very hard to get this stuff together to you, and the more people that see it, the easier my life would be and the more I can actually do if I can actually get more people watching. And by you hitting the like and just saying, hey, thanks, because you've been watching you for a while, it helps me. Making sure that you're subscribed, it helps me. It gets more people here. So thank you to those that do that. It costs nothing and it means so, so much. So how many people remember this? People probably remember it, right? I do. I certainly do. 16 days. Everybody seeing that okay? For whatever reason, my screen looks strange. Is the show going on okay? Because on my end, I see like a frozen screen. I don't even know. So if you could tell me in the chat, that would be great. Just saying, yes, everything's fine. We're looking at the 16 right now. I always get stressed when things look like they're frozen. Okay. No one's answering me. I'm just getting thumbs up, so I'm assuming that's all right. I'm just going to continue on. But 16 is the big number. It repeats every 16 days. And I heard a voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, go pour out the 7 bowls of God's wrath on the earth. Alien signal from a couple of years ago. Right next to the same show from a couple of years ago. Almost like to a T, and Elon's sharing out his bedside table, all about zombies. Now, this is where it gets even stranger. So, in this game, they have this like space station type of a thing, or whatever. Supposedly, heaven will be open to all. It's kind of like that, I don't know if you ever saw that Matt Damon movie. I was going to say Ethereum. I know it's called Elysium. I was going to say Ethereum. How funny. Elysium, where it's basically all the wealthy, they live above the earth and everybody else is below and they're struggling. So they create this thing called heaven. And unfortunately, it is only for the elites, even though they lied. According to Lazarus, now this is from the game, the space station is simply another means for that group of enlightened ones to control the population. It claims that they plan to use it to dominate the world, and they can simply relocate to space and use their spy satellites to control everyone from orbit. It's called heaven. This is a plausible motivation for constructing the space station since Page Industries, blah, 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 666. But notice my show about 9/11, because of course I'm like, I know I did a show talking about something's coming on 9/11. I know I did something, so I had to go back and I looked. And it was that show that I did where I talked about 7/11 actually being a picture of 9/11. And of course, underneath it I wrote from heaven. 7/11, which was World Population Day. Very strange. Very strange how all of this stuff just continues to come together. Weird to me. Weirder still is I've talked about signals being cut off recently and judgment by fire recently, and I shared part of my book in that video, entered in as evidence 9/11/2022, about the darkest day that's upon us. Very, very spooky time. Very spooky time in my novel is what starts off on that day. It's entered into evidence so that it can be proof of sorts that, maybe there's more to the novel than meets the eye. Yeah, one of those things. Who knows? Now, what's interesting is also on that 7/11 video that I did, which World Population Day, I talked about the guidestones. Did a whole thing on the guidestones. And wouldn't you know it, it was like a day later, or a day or two later, or I don't know when it was, and it was my next show. Biblical proof the guidestones collapse. Either an act of God or game over. They already got everything set up. It's ready to go. The plan is unfolding exactly the way they want it to unfold. And either way you look at it, it's strange. Gets me concerned, of course, because I got a little freaked out when I was reminded of that video, and then I went back and then I watched that video. I got a little freaked out, and then when I was going back and I was reading all about, like, God forbid something like that happens. What a, kooky game. And then you ask yourself, well, why would you put that out there? Maybe that is his bedside table. Maybe he just likes these games. Why would you put all of this zombie stuff and this revolutionary stuff? And weird, right? Weird. Well, he had his big moment again last night. And all of this is quite, it really is quite beautiful to see how this story is coming together. A little freaky that in 6 months' time, supposedly, they're going to be able to begin human trials. That's how many people in the chat actually did any of you watch it? And thank you so much, Marcy. The eyes, they get older. And thank you for hitting like, because now more people are here, and I appreciate the help. So, 6 months' time. I don't know how many of you actually watched what went down, but it was very interesting. They have this robot that implants these these hairs. I would go into it a lot more detail, but I got a lot to get into in the show. So I would recommend you all checking it out. It's going to help the blind to see and the paralyzed to walk. What is Elon Musk's X Everything app? Here's what we need to know. Neuralink, Twitter, SpaceX, X. Remember the blue walkers that I was talking about? Amun-Ra's blue. He carries an Ankh. That Ankh is also known as that right there, the Chi-Rho. In my old thumbnail in the center. The X app. Do you remember when Elon tweeted out that picture of the three? Remember I did the video where I had the three of them next to each other and I said, there are the heroes. There they are. This is what the people will be offered as heroes. And then I, of course, said that really we got to stop putting everybody else and making them look like the enemy. Obviously this was probably just something that was kind of a goof at the time. Sure, Elon didn't know where, Kanye would be going in the future. So it was kind of a joke, which he took down. But it was interesting because he set that tweet out exactly at 11:11, which was exactly the title of my show, 11:11, which is why I said someone's watching. But what strikes me as more interesting is the fact that chai, I did not know, is the Ankh. And it's what Amun-Ra carries. That's where we get that symbol for Christ. Isn't that strange, the cross? Didn't know this until today. How did I find that out today? Well, because I had an idea. I said, oh, that Ankh, it looks a lot like that X for the X app. Weird. A lot of weird things going on. I talked about Baal Anciaga recently. I want to remind everybody that I've been telling all of you about how from 2016 on, they marched the replica of the Syrian arch known as the Arch of Triumph. The Arch of Triumph. It's actually the Arch of Baal. Baal didn't win. Just want to let you know. So it's kind of funny to call it the Arch of Triumph. It's kind of shady. Little shady. But this is nothing new to all of you. The bottom left-hand corner, you see the Space Force logo, which looks very much like the Baphomet. It's all of this stuff. They're all into the occult. Maybe, maybe not. But I do believe that I was probably one of the first to talk about how, I don't know how people didn't put that together. And like now that, Baal Anciaga is coming out. If you haven't seen it, there it is. He has the mouth guard in there, right? So, and of course, it's, this is something I've talked about. If you want to watch the show that I just did, go back and check it out. But it means Baal is king. And it also means, if you spell it out a different way, do what you want. And this is what's going around. This is what's going around. But this was something that I had said to all of you back in October. Let me see if I can pull up my Twitter. Oh, and thank you for the super chat. I don't know who that was, but thank you very much. Let me just say hi and thank you. Wow, Denise, whoa. Holy macaroni. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to get to this. We're going to get to this. Let's pull this up. Oh, did you see this too? Monstrous, and it was terrible what she said, as if that that experiment, which was done terribly, was like somehow like we honor them for their sacrifice. It's terrible what people are saying. Terrible what people are doing. There's the ducks circling around, like I had said earlier. My doctor, who's 53 years young, who loved the channel, by the way, and was like a nice guy. Like we're about to go out to dinner, actually, recently, because for years we talk about it, we never did. Now he passed away, had a massive heart attack. Doctor in New York. New York has, I don't know, stress, health, who knows what it is. So let's see if I can just pull this up really quick. Okay, so let's just see here. Just listen to this. Now this is your, look at him. Look at his mouth guard. Balenciaga. Baal in Siaga. Baal in Siaga. You can hear it. He's wearing that hat 2023, and then he's got another hat 2024. So, of course, we know that's going to be big. But this is your guy. Jesus is king. Now this. So that was from, and then if you look in this corner, by the way, we remember we talked about this. They're 2003 ladies, I guess. And there is someone carrying a baby who looks not alive. And this one over here has one of them bears. We talked about this before anybody talked about it. I'm sure people were talking about it, but here, so listen to this. Jesus. They say all the right things, supposedly. You know what they call Balenciaga? The master of us all. Interesting, right? Not as interesting as their weird fashion show from hell. In a video called 1111, Wake Up Call. And there was the blood moon on that. All of this stuff connected. The blood moon, all these things. Just strange. You know what I thought was even stranger? Is that, truth be told, at Jacob Me, that company, Baal is King, is owned by the Artemis Group, or Group Artemis. How about them apples? See how it comes together? It's weird. Very weird, very strange. Now, we got to talk about what just went down with the artist formerly known as Kanye. And a friend of mine, rebuked me a little bit because I was questioning. I'm like, is this like a real thing, or is this some kind of a, like an operation? I don't know if they do these type of things. I don't know if they have operations, with the codes and stuff. I don't know if they do this stuff. I know some people say that they do. I know that there are a bunch of shows. There's like a show right now, MK whatever, on where they talk about the experiment. I don't know. I mean, I do know, right? But I don't know for a fact. I haven't seen the papers. I just kind of deduce. Psychology is a big thing, and I believe that we're controlled that way, very, very much controlled. So I asked the question, though, is it real? If it's real, it's terrible. If it's an operation, it's terrible. And I had never considered that maybe the guy's really sick. Isn't that terrible? I felt bad. I felt bad too because I look at everybody. I was in Christian TV, and I know what it's like to see people that worship a God that's the God of this world. They don't know any better. They think it's the good God, right? The good God. But this God allows them to act a certain way, hate a certain way, be a certain way. And it's very much like the devil comes as an angel of light. You may think that you're serving God while you're sending someone off to be stoned. They did it to better people than me, So, and they do it to people today. I didn't question, like, maybe he's really just sick. Maybe he's just got some bad people around him that are taking advantage of him. And if that's the case, I'm gonna pray that he gets better. I was a little ashamed because I see it and I'm like, oh, I've been telling everybody, look at this, and now look what he's saying. And guess what? He's wearing the hood again. I just did a show where I said everybody forgot what he was wearing a freaky hood just because he hasn't worn a freaky hood in a while, right? And then today he's wearing a freaky hood. And of course I think to myself, this can't be someone who maybe is going through a crisis. This can't be somebody because he's acting irrational. It has to be done on purpose. That's the way I was thinking. And so forgive me for that because I don't know the man's heart. I do know that the world is going to become even more divided because of it, which is why it leads me to think that this is more of some kind of an operation, if you will, some kind of a leading. I mean, Elon just said that Twitter was instrumental in interference. Said it. So there are operations that are going on socially. Barack Obama, back in the day, I did a video about this, saying mind control. He had an executive order. He started that brain initiative. What was it about? Hiring behavioral psychologists to better get people to do things the way the government wants. Basically, in a nutshell. Finding better ways to get people to access this or access that. Think tanks. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. So I see this and I think it's crazy, And I think I was telling Noah this when I was coming home from the gym because I ran out to the gym before I came on here. Let me just see if everything's still rolling okay with all of you. Wow, we almost got 2,000 people here. Wow, that's pretty great. Hit the like. I appreciate it. See, this is the thing. What happens? You all help out, and then more people come. Like, what if this is happening, right? Like, what if it's gonna happen? Who knows? What if all these things that I'm saying? I mean, it's anything's a possibility, right? But we know that nothing can separate us from the love of God. I want to remind everybody about that because a lot of people think, I hear I'm talking about Deus Ex in this game where there's mind control and nanotechnology and the elites and all of these. So there are all these weird connections and it's spooky and there's this and the blue mark is going up and it looks like the Crusaders cross, right? It looks like that and it's the biggest thing ever and it could be it's going to be all the cell things and that could be it beams the light down, boom, and everybody, right? This is all just in my head. But if I were to say that was true, then you could probably say maybe I'm in crisis too. I don't know any of this to be true. I just find this all so strange. And when I see this, I think to myself, well, I've been telling you all from day one about him that he's going to be this guy. I mean, he wore the MAGA hat, right? Now he's wearing this hat, and it's a shame. But I never really considered, maybe he's really sad, maybe he's sick. And maybe the wrong people are around him. Maybe his wife should have stood by him, and really, maybe they should have put their relationship, maybe he needs help. Maybe he needs help because this isn't good where this is going. But then I had just talked to all of you about how he was wearing the NASA hat. He was wearing the NASA hat. And I said it reminded me of Jones when Jones went on Rogan. And he was wearing the NASA shirt. And I was telling Noah back from the gym, I said, you know, when you're in this community, right? I don't consider myself a truther or whatever, but you're in this community. We all know each other. You know what people think. You don't want to put a stumbling block in front of them. You know that, you know, the origins of that place, it's very dark. You know, was it Parsons? You look this stuff up. Jack, I think is his name. Dark, like sex magic and dark ritualistic stuff. Some people say NASA literally means to deceive. They say that the vector is a snake, a tongue from a snake. You know, like a lot of people think that it's a scam. They're like, people think this. I'm not saying it's true. But I know not to wear a NASA shirt. I'm not going to wear a NASA shirt because I know that you'll think that. Jones went on his show wearing that NASA shirt all the time. So when I saw Kanye wearing the NASA hat, I said on the show, it's no wonder. I said the Jones connection. And then here they are together. Both of them were sporting the gear. How could I not think maybe this is a work, like in wrestling? Maybe it's a work. Like they don't all know? Come on. There's the tape right there. You all remember this. There's the tape that's on the floor in one of their ads. She was just wearing the tape. But there it's spelled bail. They all look like zombies, by the way. Every one of them, when they were walking around, they were like zombies. They were like, That's what Danielle, when she gets upset with me, like because sometimes I get, she goes, oh, you're gonna go, That's the noise I make, I guess, in her head when I'm grumpy. She's wearing the tape, you know. Just I don't know. You would certainly think that with the bell, do what you want. The darkness, return to the dark ages. I just thought that, my buddy's little Twitter post was appropriate, especially since it seems like this is the time that we're in right now. It's a very sad time, if you ask me. But it's also a very exciting time. It's a time when we learn that there is more to life than just worrying all the time. Easy for you to say, Jacob. It's like, hang on, let me just put this on for a second. You just told everybody about space and mind control and signals and zombies. Yeah, okay, enjoy your life. That's funny, right? That's funny. I hope that none of this stuff is just weird. It's just weird. That's the story that's being told, right? But once again, these stories could just have to do with more of a spiritual thing, right? You're not getting that signal from heaven. Huh? Interesting. Heaven, that's the name of in the game. That's where they controlled everybody from heaven. Strange how all this stuff kind of comes together, you know? All right. I think I'm going to get out of here. I was going to talk about the MIT robots that give birth to other robots because we were already on the subject. I was going to talk about the San Francisco, that they're going to be deploying all this stuff. But I'm exhausted. I go to bed early, and this is too late for me. But I had to get this show out to y'all. I had to. And let me just pull this up one more time. This kooky thumbnail. There's your Blue Walker in the back. Blue Walker 3. The Bluebirds. God forbid that's true. Lord, don't let that be true. None of that stuff's going to happen. I really hope that all of you are getting your house in order and you're doing the right thing. I really hope that you're living your life to your fullest and you're loving each other. and you're forgiven. And I'm asking you all to start praying for people that even I sometimes forget to consider to pray for. Kanye needs our prayers. All of this stuff. Even if it's all a big thing, even if they're all in on it together, we need to pray for them. We need to pray for them. And we got to remember, stuff from space comes in all the time, smashes into stuff all the time. So man may have his plans, but God is always going to have the upper hand. So I'm not that concerned, especially because I know I'm trying to get my house in order all the day and all the night, always trying to do the better version of me, the Christ in me, always seeking God and not my ego or my carnal mind, listening to not the fear, but the victory, not the lack of faith, but understanding that, you know what, Ethan's going to get his hearing back. Ruptured his eardrums, all of this stuff. He doesn't have the virus of the crown anymore. He's going to hear again. This breaks my heart. Huh? What? What'd you say? And I'm talking loud. But breaks. Dan was crying. I said, honey, we just never dealt with ear infections before, but he has 2 ruptured eardrums. So, but he can hear us. And I was telling Danielle, worst comes to worst, he'll have a hearing aid. Worst comes to worst, right? He's not going to get a chip, though, Elon, if you're watching. I'm not going to sign him up for that. Just saying. I think a hearing aid, he'll have to be an adult to make that decision. All right. I love each and every one of you. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much. Please share the show around. Make sure get yourself some of the merch if you want. It's in the description of the video below. Try code AWESOME. I don't have any codes, but they gave me a code once for I don't know why they don't give me codes. Like I see other YouTubers all the time. Try code. I think that was the code. If you do, maybe it'll work. If not, it's a good cause, right? Copy The Calling, of course, on Amazon. It's doing great. You want to find out about the dark days ahead too? It's in there as well. And the victory that lies for us all. The beginning of the story. This may be the dark ages, but this is where we're going.